Hello, everyone. I realized I forgot to do the recording tonight, so I thought I'd do it and add it on just in case anybody wanted to revisit. Tonight, we talked about internalization and the relationship we have with internalization and self, and where the internalization comes from, where the root comes from. For most of us, dates back to really early experiences. Internalization, by definition, is making the decision, the assumption, or the judgment that whatever happened is because of me. And that relationship with a child of internalization can be really dangerous. And what makes it toxic or dysfunctional is that it's not repaired. So in childhood, if mom and dad are fighting and it's not talked about later, or it's not explained, or I'm not included in what happened, as a kid or as a child, I make up that I did something wrong, that they're fighting because of me. And the reason that that's helpful for me is because as a human, whether I'm a child or an adult, I want to know why, because not knowing is more uncomfortable than knowing. So if I control the situation and I make the assumption about me that I did something bad or I did something wrong, that's why mom and dad are mad, or that's why daddy left, or that's why mommy divorced daddy. If I make me the problem, it gives me some semblance of control. It's better than not knowing. And in that relationship with internalization, if it's not repaired, if my reality isn't corrected and parents don't talk to me or explain what happened, or I'm too scared or don't have the opportunity to ask what happened, that will become my relationship with discomfort. That will become my relationship with the why behind the dysfunction of my family. I'll internalize that it's about me. And as an adult child, without repair and without healing, that continues to be how I navigate my relationships. Maybe I'm texting my sister and I ask her a question and I get a one word response. I start to make up that she's mad at me or that I shouldn't have asked that question. Or as an adult, my husband comes home and at the end of the day and doesn't say a word and slams his bag down and walks upstairs. I immediately go into internalization of, oh God, what did I do? It is this visceral reactive response. And what makes that dysfunctional or pathological for me is it also puts me then into fight, flight, freeze, fawn. I start fixing dinner because I think, oh, maybe it's because I didn't have dinner going. Or I text him and say, I got to go. I'll be back later. And I run out the door because I think he's mad at me. All of those examples of internalization and me wanting to fix it is me taking responsibility for, number one, something that may not even be mine, and me assuming that I'm the problem. And when I, in relationship with myself, make me the problem, make me so important that I have some type of power in someone else's happiness. I have some type of authority in someone else's world and whether or not they're having a good day, AKA codependency or control addict. I've become their higher power. I'm somehow more powerful than them. So when I look at my relationship with self and I look at that internalization, What I do to myself is what was done to me. In childhood, when I didn't know what was happening and my world was distorted and I was the problem, all of a sudden now as an adult, I'm doing to me what was done to me. I live my life in really high standards. I expect somehow that as the owner of a company, I'm going to keep my whole team safe, and it's my responsibility, not their responsibility, to show up and take some ownership of that. So the reality is distorted. When we look at internalization and what was done to me and what I do to me, that pattern repeats itself. And usually I feel powerless. Usually I feel small. Usually I can be in this place of self loathing or self blame or self shaming, sometimes for a couple of days before I realize it. So I want to pause there and let you guys share your experience, strength, and hope on this. And I'll come back with the tool. So I want to make an offer or an invitation that as you're thinking about thematically how this shows up for you, how I do to me what was done to me. In my backstory in my childhood, um, I was bad or wrong if I didn't know the answer, or if I didn't meet the standards, or if I wasn't enough, or if I didn't fix enough or know enough for my parents. And so that really bred this perfectionism for me. And what I know as an adult in early recovery was if I was doing a good job and everybody else was happy, then I was happy and I loved me. Likewise, if I made a mistake or someone was mad at me, it was my fault. I'm bad. I no longer love me. So, thematically, what I repeat with me is conditional love. And what I want to invite you into trying or considering is utilizing the guidelines that we use in sessions, in groups, and in workshops. Utilizing the guidelines with me and me. Guidelines are the pathway to connection. And it's easy to think about the connection with others. But the tool for this would be using the guidelines that I offer others, like be kind, honest, and respectful. Yes, that is important in my marriage, but it's also important between me and me. Or assume positive intent. Yes, it is important when my husband and I are in a conflict for me to assume positive intent from him rather than assume he was trying to hurt me. But it's also important for me, even if I made a mistake, to assume positive intent. It was just a mistake. You didn't mean to do that. That's not what you were doing. So to be kind to me and assume positive intent with me is how I reconnect with me. And when I'm in connection with me, that's my adult self. That's my ability to get right sized. That's my ability to reparent or repair a part of my backstory. And the other offering that I want to make is what we've discussed before is the responsibility to and the responsibility for. I'm responsible to my husband and the commitment we have to each other and to our family, but I'm not responsible for him. I'm not responsible for his behaviors or his mistakes. And in closing, one of my favorite AA tools or AA sayings is I'm 100% responsible for my 50%. And sometimes when there is interactions or conflict, there is some ownership that I want to take, or there is something that I could have done better. And I can still only be 100% responsible for my 50%. So the invitation to consider using the guidelines between you and you, but also recognizing the responsibility in it and only owning what is yours to own. So I hope this was helpful. I'll see you guys next week.